Hello.
Hi, Camille. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi. How are you? Good, good.
So, thank you very much for
Absolutely.
joining.
Yes,
Um,
thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Hope you
how's
had
your day?
a great Christmas.
It's been good. It's been good. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, good. Just quite one with the family.
I think everyone's been through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for Boxing Day?
Boxing Day, it was just a quiet one. I think, I guess here in Dubai, it's just, a normal working day. So people are working again. So for
Okay.
me, I've got the kids. It's my turn with the kids. So we just went out.
Fair
Just a
enough.
quiet Boxing Day. Yeah,
Thank you very much for joining me today. So, I
pleasure.
thought so I decided we did a podcast not long ago, and
Sure.
we
Yep.
decided that, as we enter into 2021, let's get a few nuggets of wisdom and prepare ourselves. So I thought it'd be a good idea to speak to you, life coach Jetty, J Shetty certified life coach. So why
Thank you
don't
so
we
much. Yeah.
why don't you set it off for us? Why don't you kick it off?
Sure. I guess again, first and foremost, I want to thank you so much again, for having me on the show, and obviously now for on Instagram Live. And to whoever's watching right now, I certainly hope you had a great Christmas, Boxing Day. Now we're coming up to the new year in a few days time. So I guess this period of time between the Christmas period and New Year, there's a lot of things happening. This year, again, I'm saying it again. Everyone's been through it. It's completely kind of change. There's a lot of change happening this year, and I guess fast forward from where we were before to where we are now. I guess one thing that I can say, certainly for myself, is that there's been a lot of growth in terms of understanding. Um, you know, I guess trying to adapt to change. One of the key things that I've seen, especially for myself and the family, is how adaptable we are as human beings. Right? It's not
Yeah.
until we're tested that we certainly find ourselves. Well, actually, the things that I think or I thought I couldn't do before, actually I can do it. We are kind of adaptable beings. So that's one of the key things that I've taken away from 2020. Um, so I guess fast forward. Now we're going into 2021. There's a lot of talk about the upbeat. When are we going to get out of all of this?
Yeah.
As you know, I guess in the UK as well, that there's talk of the vaccine now being available in the UK and around the world. So this, I guess, an upbeat sentiment now, saying people are wanting to kind of move forward. How can we move forward, and leaving, I guess, 2020 behind, but looking forward to 2021. Um, so I guess for me now, kind of looking forward to 2021 is one of the big questions, not just this year, but every single year, is goal setting, right?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess if I can put it back to you, Dina, just from your own perspective, that all the kind of New Year's resolutions, right, that me included, um, previous years, for example, 2020, I guess what were your resolutions at the beginning of 2020? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my
Yeah.
resolution, I had loads. Number one was to, get healthier, stop smoking. The smoking part is on and off at the moment. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But also the big one for me was really the Kilimanjaro
Wow.
and the Everest. So climbing Kilimanjaro and doing the Everest marathon. I
Nice.
then had to obviously push those back, as everyone had to push their goals back.
Sure.
But I did lose my motivation back in March, like when I got COVID. And that's what prompted me to
Wow.
do the podcast, because I was like, well, other people, you see on Instagram, like other people are still motivated, they're still working towards their goals and their dreams. And I thought it was a great initiative for me personally, almost like therapy. It was just like, okay, let me get back into being motivated in what I'm doing, and reset up my goals. And it's been great. So I'm back onto training, and I'll carry
Awesome.
those goals into 2021, and we'll see how that goes. But it's better to be training for something, or working towards something, even in unprecedented times.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's great that you're sharing this with us, because obviously, from your own perspective, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. At the beginning of 2020, we had all these goals that we wanted to do, but some of them we managed to kind of address, but some, like you say, have to be pushed back. I guess me included. By the time the whole thing happened, COVID and everything happened, a lot of kind of the motivation, a lot of the uncertainties were up in the air. So I guess it was a period of kind of what do I do with my goals? Am I still on track? Is it still relevant? So all of
Yeah,
these things come into play, right?
yeah,
So I guess that's great that you've I guess shared the things that have happened to you as well. And I'm again applaud you for doing all of this. You just mentioned that you're a COVID survivor, right? So
yeah.
that's
I mean, to be fair,
that's something big.
it was pretty mild for me. But I will say one thing though, I still don't have all my taste buds back. So whenever I'm eating something,
Right.
just before we went to lockdown again. I went to a restaurant, and it's my favorite restaurant, but the food is so salty. So, or
Right.
like anywhere I go, like every now and then I get a whiff of ammonium. Like all I can smell is like ammonia or very copper smell. So it's still very strange. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like I got it mild, thank God. And yeah.
Wow. That's again
It's crazy to think
you're
back, but you know what? It's the isolation part that really did it for me. It's when you're alone and you're going through it, and you have to like. So because I share a house with my family, so I could only stay in my room, so I didn't want to affect them.
yeah.
So being alone, isolated, for 14 days, that was the worst part for me. Yeah.
I guess again, like a lot of people going into lockdown. Not that's the first time ever, right? Like any of
Mm,
us have had to kind of, for example, you having to go, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, whatever it is, to literally isolate yourself from everybody else, from the outside
yeah.
world. I guess it's not until you're being put in that position you begin to understand or kind of begin to feel all the things that I guess for me when we had to go into lockdown, the simplest things, I can't
Yeah.
go out, I can't just literally nip out to get a pint of milk from the grocery.
Yeah.
Those small things you kind of tend to appreciate now, whereas before it was just like, oh, I'll just nip down or just go out,
We
but now
took a
you
lot of things
physically
for
can't.
granted. Yeah, absolutely. We took a lot of things for
Yeah.
granted. And even for me, like, no, I can't even leave my room without the fear of, if I touch something, then I'm going to infect like family members in the house. So that was the big deal for us. But yeah, no, absolutely. We did take a lot of things for granted. So I suppose we were talking about goals,
Yeah.
back in 2020, how we set goals, and how we appreciate things a lot more now, the simplest things going forward. But for a lot of people, they've lost their jobs, and a lot of people, they're struggling financially, they're struggling with their mental health. I think these are the big parts of it. I mean, if someone came to you, and you're a life coach, so
Yeah.
if someone came to you and it's during 2021 where they're trying to get organized for the year coming, and it is to do with either financial struggle or trying to get a job without losing motivation, or working on their mental health because they've been isolated either out of fear of infecting other people, or for themselves, like if they've got an underlying health issue. How would you use that process? What was the process that you envision for them to go through so you can help them, or so they can help themselves?
Sure. I guess let's kind of step back. I mean, when we look at the main components that play a role in all of our lives, it either falls under the category of personal relationships, our own relationship with other people,
Yeah.
personal and social, our relationships with the family. So that's one component, family, our personal relationships, being in society. As you mentioned, career and finance. That's another component of our lives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Work and getting paid for the work that we do. Also health. You mentioned about health. One of the goals that you set in 2020 was health. And I guess one of the kind of the other major component is, I guess, our sense of purpose. Be it spirituality or whatever it is, but our sense of purpose in why are we here, right?
Yeah.
So generally, it comes under one of those five components when we're looking at when we're looking at goal setting. Now, typically what I would do is maybe just work with the particular client, whoever it is that comes to me, and say, look, okay, let's have a look at these five aspects and trying to understand which one of these are the kind of the biggest, you would say, gap that you have at the moment, right? So which is basically what I'm trying to do is trying to kind of narrow the goals down to particularly one big goal. Because one
Okay.
of the major things that every time when we go through New Year's resolutions and stuff like that is we have like 10 of these things, right?
Yeah.
10 major things. And then, because they're so big, I'll talk about this later on, but they're kind of highly unreasonable for us to achieve in 1 year, right? So we have 10 of these things, and then halfway through the year, we look at the list. I've only managed one out of the 10. That's where the motivation starts to go down, right? And then by the end of the year, I'm like, no, I've had it, I have to start again. So basically what I'm trying to do is trying to kind of narrow it down to one big goal. Right. So this process, which is, I identified the five key aspects. Have a look at where we are now, the particular
Right.
client. Okay, where are you now, and where would you like to be? So out of the five, I would try to select, guide the client to select one major one where you would have a big gap. Right. Let's say, for example, health. At the moment, I think, out of 10, maybe I think I'm a 4, but I really want to be a 9. So that's the big gap right there, right? So that's a major goal. So that's what we consider as a major goal. So let's focus
Okay.
on one particular aspect, right? So I guess that's beginnings of the process where we identify one particular major goal. And then we go through the steps of how do we do the small steps towards big goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes we try to think, okay, I have this big goal. I'm going to take this huge step, right? So, for example, let's say I want to run a marathon. Right, my first run, last time I ran was in high school. That was like 10, 15 years ago. I'm going to do 10K in my first run. You're going to collapse. You're going to
Yeah.
collapse in the first 500 meters or first kilometer, whatever it is. So again, try to be realistic about the small steps. So take incremental steps. And again, it's something that I've used in the past. Personally, I suffered through asthma when I was growing up, severe asthma. This was literally like I would have an attack in the middle of the night. Mom,
Yeah.
dad had to rush me to, in those days, we didn't have the Ventolin inhaler. It was tablets, and it took time for the thing to go through the system, or a steroid injection. So literally I had to go to emergency in the middle of the night, right?
Oh
So
God.
I suffered through,
Mm.
severe asthma when I was growing up. And I mentioned this to you. I love football, but I couldn't play because I had asthma, right? But I kind of said to myself, look, I really want to play and I really want to run long distance. That was one of my goals growing up. So what I did was, I just literally just asked myself, can I run for, 30 seconds nonstop? Because usually I'd run for 10 seconds and I'll be going like that. I couldn't keep up. So
Yeah.
small steps. So 30 seconds. Okay, a minute without stopping on the treadmill. I got to a minute. I said, okay, I can do this. So slowly build it up. Slowly build it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Right. So long story short is, I managed to do a marathon by the end of the whole thing. And looking back, I'm like, I could only have done this if I do the way that I did it, which is like small steps. Right. Can't
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
jump straight in. So again, this is guiding the client, whoever it is, from the big goal okay, once we've identified the big goal, what are the steps can we take? What are the things that where we go to kind of start talking about SMART goals, right? Be specific with
Yeah.
the acronym of specific, measurable, relatable. Is it relatable? Is it attainable? And also timely. Have a time frame
Yeah.
in your goals. So we know about the SMART goals. So again, guiding with the client over their journey to achieve this particular goal. So that's something that I would work. If someone was to come to me, say, look, I want to work with you, and I say, okay, typically they will probably say, I want to work on 5 things, right? Okay,
Mm.
let's write them down, understand, okay, which goal is the biggest one that you think, if I achieve this, it will unlock a lot of things in my life. So that's where we go through this process. So I guess, yeah, that's typically the process that I would work with a client. Obviously, that would be a journey over maybe 6 to 9 months, depending on the relationship, the coaching relationship that we will develop throughout the course of the
Okay.
relationship.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, that's interesting because like when I write down my goals, and you're right, I do the 5. I look at finance, I look at health, I look at what personal goals I want to achieve, etc., etc. Then, so those are the big goals for the year, and they're written out. But then I have like diagrams, like as in like, okay, so if I achieve, what do I need to do to achieve that? So then I go backwards to the smallest steps, as in like, okay, well, if I want to work on doing the marathon, then these are the hours that I need to put into running. This is what I need to do, like in order to keep myself from injuries. So Pilates, yoga, make sure all the muscles are stretched out. This is what I need to be eating. This is what I need to be, so stuff like that. So I break it down into little steps, and then I have
yeah.
it on my wall. So I've always got a reference to it. But then I break it down into my weekly goals as well, as in like, so I've got the annual goal, then I've got the monthly goals, then I've got the weekly goals. I'm quite anal about stuff like that.
Organized. You're
So
very
yeah.
organized. It sounds like you've got it. You've got it. You've got it. Yeah, you've got it.
so so
Absolutely.
so so that's how I break it down. Just so like again, like you said, using the smart system. Like I need to make sure that one, it's measurable, and I can also see my progress. And then listen, it doesn't always mean like it's gonna go through towards that plan. That either
Yeah.
life comes into it, or like time or whatever. So at least then I can have like on a Sunday, I'll take the time and I'll reflect back at my weekly goals, what I've achieved, what I haven't achieved, what happened, and how am I feeling. Is my body, is it at risk of becoming an injury soon, or stuff like that. So you're more in tune with your
Yeah.
body, you're more in tune with your mind. But that's how it works for me. So is that the kind of style you're looking at?
Yeah, I think that you've got it spot on right there. You have the kind of the big goal, which is
Mm.
what is the big goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year or before the end of the year. If you can
Yeah.
achieve it before the end of the year, great. And then break it down into the smaller chunks, right? So you chunk it. It's what they call chunk it. So you chunk it into kind of monthly, and then also weekly. Even if you go down to kind of the daily goals, so
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
5 days, day 1, what is it that you do? Maybe, day 1 and 3, you repeat the same thing, and then there's, 2 and 4. So you kind of break it down further into kind of, daily goals. But one thing I want to mention is that, we talk about motivation. Having all this plan is fantastic. That's the first step, right? To have a plan. To have a plan written out. I always say, like you say, you have it on the wall,
Mm.
somewhere that you can see, somewhere that on a daily basis, again, I would go as far as saying, put it somewhere where you would see it on a daily basis, or where it's a habit. Like, for example, you've been brushing your teeth, in your bathroom, stick it somewhere
Mm.
where you can see it on the fridge, somewhere that you will never miss it, right? You will never miss it. So that becomes part of your habit. So this is where we start to talk about using an existing habit that you have, but attaching this towards that habit, right? So it almost becomes a second nature. So like, for
Yeah.
example, you're opening the fridge to get the milk, you'll see it, right? Every morning. You will never miss it, right? So it's something like that. So where
Yeah.
you can see it. Having the plan, like I say, is great. The second big thing you talk about your 2020 goal was the motivation aspect, right? So motivation starts to die down. Now, I guess the two key differences between inspiration and motivation are two different things, right? So inspiration, I always see it as something that it comes from yourself, right? You become inspired by something. But motivation is something that pulls you forward. What's that motivating factor that when all hell breaks loose, like you say, when life happens, when shit hits the fan and, nothing's going right, what's the thing that pulls you forward,
Yeah.
so that you are still on course towards your goal? So for me, one of the big motivation is, we talk about pain points, right? I always kind of, again, whenever I have a goal, or I just don't feel like it. Like, for example, I'm too tired. I can't go to the gym. Actually, I can, but my mind's just saying that I can. The body physically can go to the gym, but it's all about the mind trying to overcome
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the negative talk in the mind, right? So it's the pain point. So whenever I go into that mode, I always kind of think about the pain point. What if I don't do this? What if I don't do this? What if I don't achieve this goal? What are the kind of the things that will I be missing out on? So always reminding myself, like, for example, if I don't have my health,
Hmm.
how long will I be able to kind of sustain myself? What am I going to be missing out on? For example, family time. If I don't
So it's the
sustain
big
my health,
why. Yeah. So
the
why are
big
you
why.
doing it behind it?
Yeah. Why am I doing it? So
Hmm.
usually this is all, usually it's attached to a pain point. There must be a big pain point where you're saying, if I don't do this, if I don't achieve this, what am I losing out on?
Yeah.
Right? So when you put yourself in that position where you have to ask that difficult question and remind yourself, for me, that's a big motivation. Like, whenever things are, not going right, and then, like, for example, I said to you about the health aspect. I could easily just say to myself, "Oh, I can't be bothered to do it." All this gym, I can't be asked. What's the point? That's an hour that if I spend at the gym, I can do something else. I can sit in front of the TV and play, I don't know, Call of Duty or something, right? Video games, and that's what I used to do. I used to literally sit in front of the TV after work and play on my Xbox.
Yeah.
Right? I used to play. I don't know. I haven't played the Xbox for ages now, but I used to play Halo, Call of Duty, and all these games, right? Online with my mates, and spending literally about 5 hours a day on this stuff. Now I'm looking back, like, 5 hours. That's like, wow. If I have 5 hours a day now, there's so much stuff that I can be doing with that 5 hours.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
but at that time, there wasn't this pain point. I couldn't see the pain point, but now I see the value of this. If I don't do this, what am I missing out on? What am I not doing? So again, reminding myself of the pain point, I guess, is one of the key things for me as a motivating factor to, pull me forward when everything else isn't going right. Yeah. So that I want to share about pain points and motivation just there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think it's also down to discipline? So, like, when you're talking about the pain points, like, that's your discipline. And then the motivation is like you're getting fired up because of the achievement at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Because I know for me, like, we've talked about, like, when I lost motivation, obviously that's very different. But a lot of people in 2020, they could just be like, well, it's not going to happen for the foreseeable future. So they kind of give up on that goal, or they give up on that dream. But I guess if it's that important to you, or you give it life, then you'd still work at it no matter what. But there will be times when you do lose motivation. So you kind of need to look, like you said, with your pain points as the discipline part of it. So I think discipline
Yeah.
plays a very important part.
Absolutely, and the discipline is highly linked with habits. Your habits become your discipline, and vice versa, right? So habits are essentially disciplines. What are you doing on a daily basis? Like, for example,
Yeah.
I talked about brushing your teeth. That's a habit, right? So
Mm.
at the moment, I'm trying to remind the kids, like, twice a day, right? So that it becomes part of their lives to
Yeah,
wake
yeah.
up, you know, I go out to have breakfast. My son's asked me, "Have you brushed your teeth?" I say, "Yeah, I brush my teeth every single morning." It's the first thing. Well, not the first thing. First thing is I open my eyes, then I get up, then I go to the bathroom and brush my teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of just make them kind of understand there are certain things. If you follow a certain ritual You know, that's a simple thing.
Yeah, rituals are
Example
very
I'm talking about.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
rituals are really, yeah, I find them really important. So like meditation, like, like I have my morning rituals and then my evening rituals, and then during the day it's somewhat structured. But I suppose, for someone who is only just thinking about their 2021 goals, and still, even with the vaccine available, for example, like, we are in lockdown, so a lot of people could lose their motivation, or even like their vision. Like, it's like, well, the vision can, I can wait until 2022, and then, but like, what would you say about 2021? What is going to be what should people focus on, even with all the uncertainties and stuff like that? Like, how can they maintain a vision for 2021? How can you proceed with making goals for 2021?
I guess, like, to look forward is, looking back helps us to look forward, right? For me, I always kind of do that. If I want to venture into something new, I kind of just step back and say, okay, what have I done before that's kind of similar to this, that I can, try to draw some inspiration from and maybe try to apply as I move forward,
Yeah.
So again, if we talk about 2021, what are the lessons that you can, personally learn that you've gone through in 2020, where you can, it's almost like hacking 2020. Okay, we've gone to lockdown. Okay, if we go into lockdown again, well, I kind of know it's not gonna differ very much. I have to
Yeah.
stay at home. I have to, I can't be as mobile as I could before, but I quickly know what I can, jump on and get on with. So for example, if you say, I remember having this conversation with a chap in Dubai on his show, and I asked him, what would you say to someone who comes and says, look, you've got a thing, right? You've got your thing, maybe whatever it is, reading or, doing this coaching thing. I don't have a thing, what can I do? So I remember him saying, look, it's up to you, right, to find out what it is. I'm pretty sure there is something. You're just not kind of maybe looking at it enough, or kind of maybe there's a lot of fear out there that you think, oh, if I do this, I might be judged. I can't, I can't possibly indulge in that thing that I wanted to do before, a hobby, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're both, we both have done this. You've started this podcast channel, right? And I've gone through this with something at the end of it, right? And it's crazy. Like this time last year, I don't think we had this. I don't know, you may have, but I certainly didn't
No.
have all this planned out, right?
No.
But that's just to say that we're no different. Like everyone, everyone, if you really sit down and think about it, you can do whatever you want. There is something out there for you with the internet. It's fine. We can't be as mobile as we can be, but with the internet there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot of learning that we can do. So I guess my kind of suggestion for 2021 is to look at, okay, I've kind of, if I've missed the boat in 2020 to do what I wanted to do, I've got a whole year now, right? I'm starting from January. I'm not starting from lockdown, March, April. I'm starting from January with the knowledge of, if, for example, lockdown happens, okay, I can handle that. I can handle that because I've done that already. But at least I'm a step ahead, because if it does happen again, lockdown, I can immediately go into kind of the learning, or, just talking about adaptability. So that's something that maybe I can just suggest to people, to look back and say, look, what have I missed that, if I could do it again, I want to do it. So now's the chance to do it in 2021. Like you say, because with the vaccine and everything, we're not out of the woods yet. I don't believe we are. I think, it's just trying to kind of make sure that we, I guess, adapt again. Adapt, but also take it forward in 2021, 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I have a holiday list for 2021. Like we just said, we don't know if that's gonna be able to happen, but at least I've got that vision, like, as in, like, so I've got the realistic vision, as in, like, what I can achieve whether it's lockdown or not lockdown. And then I've got you could also call it my wish list, you know, like as in like when things go back to normal, whatever that
Yeah.
means now.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've got that kind of goal as well. So I kind of break it down by, you know, what is achievable, whether it's lockdown or not, and then what is a nice to have, but like that's what I'm really working towards regardless. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'd want it to, but it can only happen with circumstances that are more open.
Yeah.
In comparison. So yeah, so I've got those written down. But I do keep looking at my holiday list. I'm like, that'd be really good to go to. And then so like, you know, so I've got that to keep me fired up.
It's the same with us. Like, you know, we've got the holidays planned, you know, treating it as a normal year, right?
Yeah.
But we understand that if we can't go, let's say, for example, now it's kind of touch and go, but coming towards the actual time that we have to fly, you know, I had friends who were supposed to fly back to the UK literally the night before the lockdown
tier
happened,
4,
literally
yeah.
tier 4. And I saw on Instagram, you know, friends gutted. They said, "Look, I should be at the airport now, but we decided not to go because we just heard that London's gone to lockdown, and they stayed here for the Christmas period." But we understand that if that does happen, fine. I mean, it's something that we can't control, but what can we do then, right? So it's just kind of anticipating if plan A doesn't work, okay, I still have A1 or A2 that, you know, all's not lost. There's something else that I can do with the family. So I guess that helps to kind of, I guess, anticipate the kind of element of surprise. If something does happen, lockdown happens again, I can still move on with my life.
Absolutely.
You know, doing other things. Yeah.
I think so. Like the biggest questions that I've been getting asked is for you, by the way.
Sure.
For example, when people are looking for, so for example, like they don't have a job or they don't have income, so their whole lives have changed. Okay, so when we're talking about like, you know, like still maintaining that goal plan or whatever, you know, for them it's almost like a privilege. It's like, okay, well, you can do that 'cause that's a privilege, but like, how about trying to be able to focus on getting a job, considering everything, even in the service industry, it's shut. And, you know, a lot of people are out of a job. So it almost feels like everyone's competing during the same time. How can they create their plans? Like, how can they move forward? Because I mean, like, you know, if you don't have a job, you don't have money coming in, it will affect their mental health. So it's kind of like in line with each other. But like, how can they get through that? Especially when we don't know what's going to happen moving forward.
Sure. And I guess, you know, one thing, again, I talked about the kind of the power of the internet and online, right? There's a lot of things that now, especially now, it's proven that we you know, don't need to go into the office. We can work online, we can work from home, we can work from anywhere. And again, looking back, when I was in UK, you know, I dabbled a lot on eBay, just selling stuff. Literally just started selling stuff. Like, you know, I had a lot of stuff lying around, secondhand, just started selling. And then slowly, I started to make money. This is like side income, right? So it's not like, I guess, looking at the, you know, I need to have this flashy career. So you can start from anywhere. Starting small. Again, like we talked about, the big goal. Okay, big goal is, for example, I want to land a permanent job by the end of 2021. Okay, I don't know what it is, but that's possibly the big goal. But okay, for the time being, it's not there. But what else can I do? What else can I do? So, for example, if you say, you know, I can't even afford to pay for the internet at home. Is there somewhere that you can go to get free Wi-Fi? But I know it's a bit difficult now because you're still in lockdown. You can't go out, right? So is there an arrangement where, I don't know, if you have a friend that can, you know, loan you? But now I guess, I don't know how much it is to get, you know, data for, you know, for online.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the internet, I think a lot of people, that is, you know, that's going to be the big, like, they'll have their internet. So
I guess, again, just start small and just see it. The only way for me, I always say to people, is that just start, because you don't know where you're going to get to unless you start, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I said, I started off with the eBay. I was selling my secondhand games at that time, my Xbox games, right? And then suddenly there was interest on the merchandise. People were asking me, "Oh, by the way, do you have this and that?" And then slowly, I wouldn't have known that the market was asking for these things, if I did not start with that small,
Yeah.
Xbox game, right? So you just have to start, and then it just starts to snowball. But again, just being open. I think one of the main things as well is just kind of be open with it, open with the idea. Again, I remember when I first started selling stuff on eBay at that time, during my uni days, and a lot of people were asking, "Oh, what are you doing that for?" There's a lot of kind of, I guess, heat coming from the outside, but I didn't care. It's like, hey, it's extra cash. Who cares? It's going to
Yeah.
my
No,
pocket, not your
absolutely.
pocket, right? So I guess, yeah, that's what my advice is to say, just start small.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone's got something. Everyone has something. You just need to find what that thing is, right? I don't believe it when someone says, I don't have a thing. Everyone is unique. They have that, this is why I say my mission is to guide people to bring out their kind of the inner genius within them, because I truly believe that, right? So whatever it is, speaking, talking, whatever it is, everyone's got something. Yeah.
Absolutely. And taking it one step at a time, and then the opportunities will open up themselves to you. So I actually like that. Yeah, you did go back to the beginning. I can have the big plan about your career, but start off small, just do whatever you can at the moment to bring in the money that you need. It may not always be sufficient, but at least it's one step going forward. So actually that was a good reminder.
Yeah. And I think, again, focus on the journey as well, as much as the goal, right? Because throughout the journey, once you starting, that's why I always say, just start, because once you start, you never know who you're gonna bump into, right? Like, I'm talking to you right now. Like last year, I had no idea who Dina is and what you do, and what are we doing here, but it's because we started, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has to start, but when you start to connect with people. And once you connect with people, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
All these things start to come into play that you couldn't have imagined before. So you just need to start.
Yeah,
That's
there
my
you go,
advice.
everyone. 2021, just start.
Just
Start
start.
now.
Just
You
start.
don't actually have to wait for 2021.
No.
I always say, we always end up waiting for the New Year resolution to start, and then we can be like, right, here's our big goals and here's our big dreams, and then it's like, but we can actually do that anytime. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to wait for a new year to come through. But I do say that 2020, like you just said, it has been a great learning curve, as in how do we cope during lockdown, and trying to find opportunities for ourselves, and also taking the time to really get to know ourselves and what it is that we want to do. We're never going to get this time again, hopefully, okay? In this way, hopefully better times ahead. But we're never really going to have this opportunity to where we can sit down and really take in stock of our lives and our passions and what it is we've always really wanted to do. Now, you may not be able to do it now, but it can be something that you're taking the first step towards. Whereas before it's like, well, no, I'm busy. I don't have time. I've got this, I've got that. We're all busy. We all don't have time, even during lockdown, which was very surprising,
Yeah.
Let alone when life takes off. But so we're not going to have this opportunity, so make the most of it. And potentially 2021, we are going to go in and out of lockdown again. So we have or we can start, if we don't have the coping mechanisms, we can work on that now. And we're very adaptable. Human beings are very adaptable. We evolve, we adapt, and it's very surprising how we get through. Because when we go into the unknown, it's like we're always thrown into a lot of fear. But it's not until you're in it, so you're like, I've got this. I know
Absolutely.
I can cope with it. I know what I can change for next time, etc., etc. So I think 2021 is taking on the learnings of 2020 with you, but making a greater impact in 2021, hopefully, God willing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touch on a key thing there. You talked about adaptability, and just now you mentioned about Everest and is it Kilimanjaro? You mentioned
Yeah,
Kilimanjaro
yeah.
in Everest, yeah. Uh,
Kilimanjaro and Everest, yeah.
Again, I remember when we before we moved to Dubai. I remember a colleague of mine in the UK said, "Oh, it's hot in that region, isn't it?" And then I just thought, yeah, it's hot, but humans adapt. Like here in Dubai,
Mm.
in the UAE or in this region, it goes up to 50 degrees Celsius in
Wow.
summer, right? It goes up to 50 degrees and sometimes just over 50 degrees. But people live here. People live here.
Yeah.
Things thrive. Plants, animals thrive.
Mm.
So that just shows you how adaptable human beings are. And talk about Everest, people have been up there, and the range of temperature and all these things. We are adaptable beings. So when we look at that in perspective, like you kind of think, okay, what else can you throw at me? What else can life throw at me, right? What are the curveballs? Talk to with Colby Sharma about the curveball, right?
Yeah,
What are the
yeah.
curveballs can you throw me? You start to look for these things, whereas before
Mm.
you were afraid of them. Like I used to be afraid of these things. I used to have fear of if something was not uh, something was out of the ordinary, I would shun away. I was like, I would be like, I'm not really kind of entertaining that. But now, you're like, okay, what next? Bring it on, right?
Yeah.
Bring it on, because that's where the growth happens. That's where you
Mm-hmm.
learn about yourself. So yeah, so like you say, adaptability. We're adaptable beings, and to understand that we are that, then go into 2021 with less fear because of the knowledge that we have for 2020, like you just mentioned just there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, before we wrap up, I mean, if anyone's got any questions for Kamil, please send them through. But I guess before we do wrap up, I mean, how are you going into 20? I mean, I know you've got your plans and your goals. So we spoke about them at the beginning. You've got them written down clearly. But as in, how are you going into it, like emotionally? In terms of your family, is it with support, or or do you have like goals that you're not going to talk about, but you have them in you? As in, like, how are you going into 2021? Are you
Well, I
waiting
guess
for the
going
1st of January as well, or are there things that you're doing before then?
no, I guess for me, again, you mentioned about not having to wait until 2021. Like I always have, my goals are, I guess, not sync with the calendar year, if you like.
Yeah,
I would set myself, for example, I remember writing my journal at the beginning of lockdown when I started this journey. I said, by the end of the year, or by 31st of December 2020, I would want to have grown my coaching business in the sense that I would get myself certified. I would be certified, and I have done
right.
that.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
I would grow my social media presence in XYZ, and I nearly have done that, which is fine. I'm still okay with that. So I guess going into 2021 with what I'm doing right now is to grow it further. So with respect to kind of doing more speaking, also growing the coaching business. Um, you mentioned about emotionally, I guess, with the family is to be more closer and appreciate the family more. What 2020 has taught me is that when everything goes to bits, right? The only thing that we have, I guess, for me is my family. My
Yeah.
family here. It's a bit challenging at the moment. Mom and dad are in other countries, and my brothers in other countries. So physically we can't. Usually we
Hmm.
have a yearly thing where we meet each other. We couldn't do it this year, but we're optimistic. Dad's already saying, well, 2021. They start to plan, which is great.
Yeah.
It gives them, gives us hope, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So again, just go into 2021 with more optimism, hope, and the key thing, I guess, is to be adaptable with change. The only constant is change. Change will happen. It's just how we react to change that makes a difference in our lives. So have the plan, but also be adaptable to change.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
doesn't happen now, don't get discouraged. It might happen the next year. Like you're saying, okay, I'm going to postpone this. I'm not killing off the goal. I'm just delaying it. There are other things that I can reach this year, but some other things might need to wait a little bit, and that's fine. That's
Yeah.
okay, right? Because no one's judging us except for ourselves. So we're allowed to shift that goalpost a little bit because of certain things that are happening.
Absolutely. And you've
Yeah,
got to do it at the right time for you as well. Just because you've got a goal and you've spoken about it doesn't mean you can't change your mind or you can't postpone it as well. That's another thing. Is like, when we start talking about our goals or our dreams, it becomes an expectation for ourselves and everyone else around us. But then it's like, they don't really care. Like, like you're the one who's putting all the pressure on you. So let's say, for example, you can't do something, even though the outside world, let's say that with the pandemic, it's, died down and you can go and do particular goals. But if you can't do them either physically or emotionally or whatever, or financially, then that's fine. That means you've just got extra time to work on the goals to get you to the ultimate goal that you want to get to. So I think that's very important.
sure. I
I've
do
got a
apologize.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've
Can you
got a
hear me
question.
though? Are you
I can
okay
hear
to
you,
hear
but
me?
there's a bit of
Yeah.
noise. There's a bit of
Okay, maybe because I'm a bit animated, so this thing's moving. I'll try and stay still.
I've
It's a
got a
bit difficult
question
though.
from Honor Design _ UK.
Yeah.
What is the best way for us to find friends that are like-minded people or positive thinking? That's a good question,
Um,
though.
a brilliant question. I guess one of the things, again, I always say to people is that, have a look at your current, circle of friends. Who are you surrounding yourself with, right? Are these people in line with where you want to get yourself to? If they're not, then maybe you need to kind of maybe align yourself with like-minded people so that they are also guiding and helping you towards your goal. Now, with the current friends and people around, that's fine. They can remain, but try to kind of align yourself with these people that can pull you towards your goal. So that
Yeah.
you're talking about the similar things, that you're on the same wavelength, and they are, I guess, always align yourself with someone that's not to say higher than you, but they in terms of knowledge and everything, they can pull you up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to align yourself with someone who has this extra knowledge that they can pass on to you, so that you can I guess elevate yourself.
And you can
So I guess
find groups like that online as well. Like, you can
absolutely,
find
yeah, on social media.
yeah, absolutely, like, or in Meetup. That's a great app, for like-minded people. But even with the pandemic, that you can't go out and just mix around with people, but you can
Yeah,
find different groups or on social media or online to align yourself with those kind of people. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be everyone, but you get to,
absolutely.
based on what groups you're part of. If you've got a particular passion, if it's a running club, you can join a running club, or if it's like people who are into new age stuff, then you can join those kind of groups, and then you'll find like one or two people where you really are on the same wavelength as them.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I just took this off. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Are you okay? You can hear me still? Okay. I've just taken the thing off. So you're right. You're right in saying, for example, Facebook. There's a lot of groups in Facebook. I'm in many groups like Robin Sharma groups, not set up by himself, but set up by people who are, for example, reading his book, and they set up a book club. So, and it's easy to join. So just be part of that, so that on a daily basis, instead of filling your mind with fear and all the negativity, you're filling yourself with all these things which are aligning you towards your goal, whatever it is, right? So I guess, like you're saying, there's a lot of groups out there that we can join. It's free to join. You don't need an expensive membership to join. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I hope that answers the question.
I think it does. I think, yeah, that was a really good question though. Like, how do you, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Camille, thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your, schedule and being with us. And I look forward to staying in touch during 2021 and
Absolutely.
beyond, and see what happens.
Let's do this again. Let us know when we we can come on. We need to look at for people who have a common goal. Sorry, yeah, I'm just reading a comment there by I am Sufyan. We need to look for people who have a common goal in life. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's absolutely true. Yeah. So yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
again. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate it.
and enjoy the rest of your time. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Sure. Have Dubai in your bucket list as well. So
I will
I'll be
do.
seeing you in 2021, hopefully here in Dubai.
God willing, God willing. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And stay safe.
Sure. Thank you. Bye bye.